Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to follow a single rupee on its secret journey through the economy. It's a huge, complicated world, but by following that one coin, we can start to understand how it all really works. So, let's get started.
Have you ever really thought about it? You get paid, you put some money in the bank, and you probably think it's just sitting in a vault somewhere, waiting for you. But guess what? It's not. Not even close. Your money is out there, living this whole other life, traveling, working, and believe it or not, changing people's lives. To get how that's even possible, we gotta go way back to the beginning. So to really appreciate money, you have to imagine a world without it. A world of pure trade, where every single transaction was a haggle. Okay, picture this. You make shoes for a living, and right now, you need wheat to bake some bread. Sounds simple, right? Well, not so much. You can't just go to the market. You have to track down a farmer who not only has extra wheat, but who also happens to need a new pair of shoes right now in your size. You can see how this gets really inefficient really fast. And this core problem, it actually has a name. It's called the double coincidence of wants. It's this huge hurdle that basically puts the brakes on the entire economy. It makes trade clunky and difficult. Humanity absolutely needed a better way. And that is where money makes its grand entrance. Think of it as the ultimate middleman. It's the universal translator for value. The shoemaker can sell his shoes to literally anyone for money, and then turn around and use that same money to buy wheat from any farmer. It is such a simple but brilliant solution that unlocks all of commerce. Okay, so money fixed the trading problem, but, it kind of created a new one. What do you do when you have extra cash? You can't just carry it all around. People needed a safe place to keep it, a new home for their money.
And that's where banks come in. Why a bank? Well, for one, it's a heck of a lot safer than stuffing cash under your mattress. Plus, the bank actually pays you a little something, interest, for letting them hold on to it. And the most important part, you can get your money back whenever you want. Because you can withdraw it on demand, it's got a special name, a demand deposit. But here's where it gets really interesting. This is the bank's big secret. They don't just take your money and lock it away in some giant vault. No, they put your money to work. This number right here, 15%, this is the key to the whole system. In India, banks are only required to keep about 15% of all their deposits as actual cash. That's just enough to handle everyone's day-to-day withdrawals. Which begs the question, what happens to the other 85%? And this is the journey. That other 85% of your cash becomes a loan for somebody else, someone who wants to build a business or buy a house or plant crops. They pay the bank interest on that loan, and the bank uses a little piece of that to pay you your interest. It's a brilliant cycle. The bank is like a bridge connecting people who have extra money with people who need it. It keeps the money flowing. This whole system of lending is called credit, and it's an incredibly powerful tool. But like any powerful tool, it can build things up, or it can tear them down. It can send you down two very, very different paths. So let's look at a tale of two borrowers. First, we have Salim. He's a shoe manufacturer, and he just landed a massive order for an upcoming festival. Then we have Swapna. She's a small farmer, and she needs a loan to buy seeds and fertilizer, hoping for a good harvest. Both of them need credit to get started. For Salim, everything goes right. This is the dream scenario. The loan lets him buy all the leather he needs, finish the order on time, and make a really nice profit. He pays back the loan, no problem, and his business is now bigger than before. This is credit doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But for Swapna, her story is a nightmare. Pests wipe out her crop. She has nothing to sell, which means no money to repay the loan. But the interest keeps piling up, and the debt gets bigger and bigger, until she's forced to sell a piece of her own land just to break even. The loan that was supposed to help her ended up pushing her deeper into poverty. This is what we call a debt trap. So what gives? Why did one person thrive while the other was ruined? Was it just Swapna's bad luck with the pests? Well, risk is always part of the story, for sure. But the real answer isn't just about what happened, it's about who they borrowed from. You see, it turns out there are two completely separate worlds of credit existing right next to each other. On one side, you have the formal sector. These are the banks and cooperatives, the official guys. They're supervised by the Reserve Bank of India, so their interest rates are regulated and pretty reasonable. But
and this is a big but, they almost always require collateral. You need to own something, like land or a house, to get a loan. This is probably where Salim went. On the other side is the informal sector. This is, well, everyone else. Moneylenders, traders, sometimes even a person's boss. There's no supervision here. They can charge whatever interest they want, often sky-high rates. But they usually don't ask for collateral, which might have been Swapna's only choice.
So how big of a deal is this informal lending? We'll take a look at this. This chart shows where people in rural India get their credit. And yeah, formal banks are the biggest slice. But look at that second biggest piece. 23%, almost a quarter, still comes from those unregulated, often expensive moneylenders.
And the picture gets even more stark when you break it down by who is taking these loans. For poor households, a whopping 54% of their borrowing comes from the informal sector. For rich households, just 17%. The people who can least afford these high-cost loans are the very ones being forced to take them. So this inequality is a huge barrier. It traps people. The big question has always been, how do you fix this? How do you break the cycle? Well, it turns out there are some brilliant ideas that are changing the whole game. This right here is the fundamental problem. The whole formal banking system is built on collateral, on having assets to secure a loan. But what if you don't have those assets? Are you just locked out forever? Well, not necessarily. And the answer that emerged is just beautifully simple. Self-help groups. Here's how it works. A small group of people, usually 15 to 20 women in a village, start pooling their savings. We're talking tiny amounts, whatever they can spare. That little pool of money then becomes a fund that members can borrow from for small needs. And here's the genius part. The entire group is responsible for making sure the loan is repaid. They rely on each other. After they do this for a while and prove they're reliable, the whole group can go to a regular bank and get a much bigger loan. Their shared trust and track record becomes a new kind of collateral. This whole idea is captured so perfectly in this quote from Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, one of the pioneers of this movement. It's this realization that if you give millions of everyday people a fair chance, a reasonable loan, they won't just help themselves. They'll build an entire economy from the ground up. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. We tend to think about economic growth in terms of massive projects, huge factories, giant dams. But what if the real key, the real secret ingredient is something much smaller? What if it's about getting a fair, affordable loan into the hands of someone like Swapna and just trusting them to build a better future? Maybe that's the real secret life of our money. Thanks for coming along on the journey.